Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1926B, and today's date is July 25th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Placeholders, Patriots Positioning, Blocks Removed, Locked, and Loaded. Now, before we get started, we've been talking about protecting your devices, protecting yourself from big tech. I mean, it's the year 2019, and if you're not using a VPN by now on your desktop, tablet, or mobile device while you browse the internet, then you're really exposing yourself to a lot of potential danger. Here, let me show you how easy this is. Click Connect. Once I'm connected, my IP address is now different than before. See? This month, Virtual Shield is offering a 4th of July celebration special. Sign up for free for 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is all about. You have nothing to lose. Click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, Q is letting us know that we need to be ready. Ready for what? Ready for the D-class. Ready for Epstein. Ready for it all. This is what Q, the Patriots, have been preparing for. Think about what just happened with Mueller, who testified in front of Congress. Even the mainstream media is saying that it was a complete and utter disaster. Mueller continually regurgitated the Mueller report or said, just refer to the Mueller report. I can't answer this. I can't answer that. What happened here was that everything that the Dems, the deep state, the mainstream media, everything that they were pushing has now come to an end. What are they going to do? Bring Mueller back? They're going to try to have an impeachment vote again? There is no obstruction. It has all come to an end. I mean, the Patriots couldn't have planned it any better. And like Q always says, why interfere with an enemy while they're destroying themselves? They just destroyed themselves. It doesn't mean that they're going to try to come up with other things or say there's something else hidden in the background. Of course they are. But they're losing credibility every single day. And that is very important. Because this is what the plan was all about. The plan was to expose what these individuals are all about, what they were trying to do. Show that they have absolutely nothing. Show that they continually push on with nothing instead of getting the job done, working for the people. And with Epstein, this just brings the whole thing all together. Because with the D-class, with spying, with Uranium One, with everything else, they need to go to each and every one of these individuals' characters. They need to show how these people operate, what they do behind closed doors. Because when they bring that out into the open and people see all of this, they can make the connection. Well, if they can do that to a child, they definitely can spy. If they can do that to a child, they can commit treason. If they could do that to a child, they can delete the email that they were selling the secrets off to China. If they could do that to a child, they can do other treasonous acts. They could lie to the people. Think about it. Think about why all of this is happening all at once. Because it was planned. Because this is part of the plan. It wasn't just to go after a couple of individuals. It wasn't just to round those people up like the Clintons and Comey and Obama. It was to drain the swamp. The swamp consists of a lot more than just government people. The swamp is deep and wide. That's the whole purpose of this. And a simple little plan just wouldn't work. Oh, let's just get them, bring them to trial, and hopefully it works. Because what about the rest? And this is what we are seeing happen. And, of course, the deep state, the Dems, the central banks, they try to push back. But it's failed. It has all failed for them. The mainstream media, who's been telling us about Russian collusion and how Trump is a criminal and everything else, that has completely failed. Mueller was the flare that was just shot in the air to let everyone know it's over. The whole thing is over. Russian collusion, obstruction. Mueller went over the report. Even Kamla Harris had to delete her tweet because she was mentioning the OLC report. And everything is being backtracked because there's nothing there. There's no there. And now the Patriots are ready. They're locked and loaded. They're ready to make the move. Now, we're going to be talking about a lot of this because Q is reviewing all past posts, and we're going to be going over some of those and some new posts. But first, I wanted to start with Representative Omar. And I know that Q has posted about Representative Omar. Trump has called out these individuals, and he's called them the squad. Put them front and center so everyone can see they're the face of the Democratic Party, and he just wants them to go off and destroy themselves. Well, Representative Omar, she published an op-ed in the New York Times on Thursday in which she urges readers to go beyond condemning President Trump as a racist and confront his policies. Along the way, she confirms Trump's basic criticism of her, namely that she does not like the United States of America, at least as she finds it. And the most telling passage in Omar's op-ed is when she describes her feelings about America, the country that sent its soldiers to die in defense of her native country, Somalia, and the country where her family found refuge. She describes the discrepancy between the America we expected to find and the one we actually experienced. She said, "The America we arrived in was different from the one my grandfather had hoped to find. The land of opportunity he imagined in 1992 was in fact full of challenges. People identified me in ways that were foreign to me, immigrant, black. I learned that these identities carried stigmas, and I experienced prejudice as a visibly Muslim woman." Omar never expresses gratitude toward the United States. She acknowledges that our Constitution and democratic institutions are the tools to make it better, but the country and its people, as they are simply not good enough. In so doing, Omar proves Trump's criticism of her and the so-called far-left squad correct. She does not like the United States of America. She's willing to lie about it, and she refuses to check her ugly prejudices at the door. And Trump and the Patriots, they're just allowing these individuals to continually speak out, to write things, because it proves everything that Trump said. Plus, Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch, he filed an ethics complaint against Omar because David Steinberg has done an investigative report, which has taken him 3 years, where he has a lot of documentation showing that her family came over illegally, she was married to her brother, she might have committed tax fraud, and so on and so forth. And we'll have to see how that all turns out. Now, Adam Schiff, this is the House Intelligence Committee chairman, everyone knows who this individual is, he's panicking. But what's very interesting is that he has amassed almost 50 hours of media time, conducting 419 television interviews on why he believes Trump colluded with Russia. And throughout all of this, there is no collusion. Think about how much time the mainstream media spent talking about how there's this Russian collusion, Trump's in the center, and any day it's all going to break. And just wait for that report. It's going to be very, very damaging. And it turned out to be the complete opposite. So Adam Schiff, he's panicking right now because everything that he hoped for has gone down the drain. And he's trying to figure out what to do next. So he's moving to plan B or C or D. We lost count here. But what is he doing? Well, he's bringing everyone's attention to the non-existent Moscow Trump Tower, a beautiful building that was never built, It only exists in Adam Schiff's mind. And he said the following: I think the story of the 2016 election is really a story of disloyalty to country, about greed, and about lies. And if there is anything that I can think symbolizes those three standards of 2016 election, it was Moscow, Trump, Tower. This whole thing is completely made up in Adam Schiff's mind. And he doesn't know what else to do. He's panicking. And the federal government just made a very interesting announcement. It's amazing how this announcement came right after Mueller testified in front of Congress. The federal government is going to resume capital punishment after nearly 2-decade lapse. Attorney General William Barr is directing the Federal Bureau of Prisons to adopt an addendum to the Federal Execution Protocol and schedule the executions of 5 death row inmates convicted of murdering children. So think about what is happening right now. They brought back the death penalty. Now, Senator Kamla Harris is now criticizing Attorney General William Barr for resuming executions of federal prisoners after a nearly 20-year lapse. She tweeted the following: This morning, the Department of Justice announced they would resume capital punishment. Let me be clear. Capital punishment is immoral and deeply flawed. Too many innocent people have been put to death. We need a national moratorium on the death penalty, not a resurrection. Now, wasn't Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, weren't they pushing the bill to make lynching illegal? Didn't they use Smollett to push this by staging a hoax about a noose? Absolutely. Let's go back to post 2849. Hate hoax by Smollett, false flag designed to pass anti-lynching law, gets wall-to-wall fake news coverage. And we know that Smollett is being investigated right now on the federal level. There's also a prosecutor looking into Smollett and the prosecutor at the time. And why is Kamala Harris panicking? Well, think about what's happening. Think about what the Patriots are doing. They're getting ready to declass. The investigations are wrapping up. We have Epstein. We don't know what they've done to these children. And think about the new law. Think about the televised hearings from Guantanamo. Think about court TV coming online. All of this is happening at the same exact time. Is this a coincidence? I think not. Now, here's some good news. We know the House, well, they voted to hold Barr and Ross in contempt, and they sent that to the Department of Justice. The Justice Department announced it will not be prosecuting Barr or Wilbur Ross for contempt of Congress. The Department of Justice longstanding position is that we will not prosecute an official for contempt of Congress for declining to provide information subject to a presidential assertion of executive privilege. This is coming from Deputy Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen. He wrote this letter to the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi. And Deputy Attorney General Rosen pointed out that former Attorney General Eric Holder was not prosecuted after the House voted to hold him in contempt in 2012. And everything they're trying to do, where they voted to hold these individuals in contempt, that was just flushed down the toilet. If you really look at it, what are the Patriots doing? All they do is they say, hey, back in 2012, back in 2013, back in 2014, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this. So guess what? We're not doing it either. And they're just using everything that the deep state has done over many, many years against them. Now, what's very interesting is Puerto Rico's governor. There have been protests and people saying, we don't want this individual around anymore. We know that the governor and many others, they are involved in siphoning the aid money for hurricanes off to their friends, and he decided he can't take it anymore. He resigned, and it will be effective August 2nd. Let's go back to Trump's tweets last week. He said a lot of bad things are happening in Puerto Rico. The governor is under siege. The mayor of San Juan is a despicable and incompetent person who I wouldn't trust under any circumstances. And the United States Congress foolishly gave $92 billion for hurricane relief, much of which was squandered away or wasted, never to be seen again. This is more than twice the amount given to Texas and Florida combined. I know the people of Puerto Rico well, and they are great, but much of their leadership is corrupt and robbing the U.S. government blind. Remember, the FBI, they made multiple arrests in Puerto Rico because of corruption. And they were taking this aid money and they were diverting it to their friends, special interest groups, and everything else. So Trump was right again. They are corrupt, and now the governor is resigning. Boom. Now, we know out in Ukraine there is a new president, Zelensky. But the deep state forces and those forces that are behind Obama, Biden, and the rest, they don't want anything to come out of Ukraine. And we're seeing the same thing happen that's happening in Ukraine, happen in Iran, happen in North Korea, where the deep state operatives, they're pushing an agenda to try to create an event. Now, Ukraine security services said that they've detained a Russian oil tanker that had blocked Ukrainian warships near Crimea in November. And they believe it's the same ship, even though it's a different name and everything else. And they believe it's the same. I believe they're doing this because they're trying to get something off the ground. They're trying to get Russia to do something. They're trying to get something started. But this will be squashed down, just like in North Korea, just like with Iran. It's not going to happen. And that peace deal in Iran, that will be presented very soon. Trump and the leader of Iran, they will be making an announcement coming up very, very soon. Let's get into some of Q's posts. This is post 3477. Q gave us a Fox News link, and this is the interview which resurfaced where Omar answered questions on jihadist terrorism by saying Americans should be more fearful of white men. And Q says the power of Anon research. Q is letting everyone know that an Anon found the video, brought it out, and brought it to everyone's attention, and now the mainstream media is reporting on it. And as Q would say, we are the news now. Post 3478. This is a redrop. We're going back to post 2042. I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I'll just give you my summary of what Q is trying to do, because these are a lot of redrops here. And it says special approval with a number _Z. And it says many other things, and it goes through the whole FISA warrant thing. And basically, this is how they game the FISA process and abuse Five Eyes program UK to spy on POTUS. Now, Q is now redropping past posts to make sure that everyone remembers what was said in the past. I do believe we're going to see many Q proofs come true very soon. And the post explains how the Obama administration set up their spying operation against the Trump campaign, basically how they game the FISA process and abused Five Eyes. Now, the first line of this, there was a special approval, P729, and it's a big number, and the last letter is _Z. And Q is saying someone had to approve all of this. Who could have it been? It most likely is Obama. And if you like a complete breakdown of this, you can go back to episode 1654. Under this, Q says, worth remembering. So Q wants us to refer back to this because, remember, the D-Class is coming, the FISA, OIG report, and all the investigations, and the sealed indictments are going to be unsealed. Post 3479. Q says, worth remembering. And these are redrops that Q is giving us. Post 3480 gives us a flow chart of a reporter and FBI, CIA, with arrows pointing to each one of them with little numbers there. And the numbers mean how many times they communicated with the reporter. And you can see this in which way the arrows are pointing. So Q wants us to remember this moving forward. Post 3481. Q gives us another redrop, And this is deep cleaning at the FBI and Department of Justice. And it goes over all the individuals that were fired, released, or forced out, and went down the whole list. And Q says, important to remember, correlation between FISA abuse, this is in brackets, treason, remove, POTUS, and mid-year investigation. So this is just a review. James Comey, director, fired. Andrew McCabe, fired. And it goes down the entire list. Post 3482, another redrop, gives us the post that we just saw, gives us another chart, which is the FBI chain of command for the mid-year investigation, and lays this all out so we understand who got what, who received different information, and you can look at this chart once again. Post 3483, Q post 2003, this is a post from August 30th, 2018, gives us a link to Twitter, and this is Real Donald Trump, and it says, everything stated has meaning. What is the significance of Nellie Ohr being fluent in Russian? She was a CIA agent, and she dealt with Russia. Is Russian a common language to learn? No. Why might this language be studied if you're going to be a CIA agent dealing with Russia back in the 80s, in the 90s? What position might this language be useful? If you're in CIA, the form requires select skill sets. Under this, Q says, why is Bruce Ohr still at Justice? Because he's giving the Justice Department information. He made a deal. Nellie Ohr is CIA, fluent in Russian. Then Q gives us a link to Fox News, and it says, congressional investigators seeking Nellie Ohr's opposition research records on Trump family. Let me read a little bit of this article. Republican House investigators are working to obtain records from Russia probe figure Nellie Ohr containing opposition research on then presidential candidate Donald Trump, his wife, and children, two sources familiar with the matter told Fox News. Ohr has long been of interest to those looking into the genesis of the FBI's probe into Russia and the Trump campaign during the 2016 election. She worked for the opposition research firm Fusion GPS, which was behind the infamous Democratic-funded dossier of salacious claims about Trump. She is also married to Bruce Ohr, a Justice Department official whose connections to Fusion GPS led to his eventual demotion. During her December 2018 closed-door deposition on Capitol Hill, Nellie Ohr told investigators she did the opposition research on the Trump family for Fusion GPS. Sources said her project predated the hiring of former British spy Christopher Steele, who compiled the dossier. Nellie Ohr said the following, I was asked to research Trump's family broadly in connection with any Russian connections. Nellie Ohr confirmed to investigators that she explored family members, foreign travel, among other issues. I did some research on all of them, but not in much depth, she said. She also said the purpose was to see whether they were involved in dealings and transactions with people who had suspicious past or suspicious types of dealings. At the time of the testimony, Nellie Ohr said she was still in possession of the research, but was unclear whether it was hers to share or whether it was owned by her former employer, Fusion GPS. So the Patriots have all this research. Let me continue. Do you still possess the research that you performed? A Republican investigator asked her during the interview. Yes, she responded. Would you be willing to share that with the committee? I guess so, she said. So the Patriots have all the research that she did. Who instructed you to do this? They're putting all the pieces together. They have documentation. Think about what is happening here. Think about everything that they've been putting together over this 2-year period, a little bit over 2 years. It's to take down the deep state, the swamp. And they're putting all this together. And the investigations are almost complete. Post 3483 gives us post 2003 again, then gives us post 2158. And it says, Panic in D.C. Bruce Ohr, and this is in brackets in bold, in effort to save Nellie Ohr, testifying against Rosenstein, Yates, Lynch, and Comey. The oars are spilling everything. Post 3485. This is a redrop, and this is about Adam Schiff. And it says, and this is from March 14th, 2019. Remember this important fact. Adam Schiff is part of the Gang of Eight intel. It will become critical once Gang of Eight material is declassified. Logical question. If Adam Schiff knew everything he's investigating and stating publicly to be knowingly false disinformation, why then would he take the course of action ongoing? Did Adam Schiff purposely deceive the American public thinking the Gang of Eight material and other classified documentation would never reach the public domain? What insurance did they hang over POTUS' head in order to prevent action? A father's love for his children knows no bounds. They had information on his children. It was dropped. Now, Q gives us another post. This is from March 28, 2019. It says, Congressman Adam Schiff, who spent 2 years knowingly and unlawfully lying and leaking, should be forced to resign from Congress. And this is in brackets. Knowingly. Leaked investigations can lead to forced resignations. Knowingly disseminating false information is illegal. Gang of Eight, Intel, Q. And under this, Q in brackets, bold, all caps, knowingly, Q. This will become clear a little bit later. Post 3486. This is a redrop. Q names the conspirators in Spygate and the Russian hoax. And this is this little SPY-OP chart where it has a lot of brackets and arrows pointing to who did what. And this is something that we need to keep in mind as we move forward when the information starts to come out. And Q under this says, important to remember, public guide to D-class. So let me give you an example. On top it says SPY-OP and it says White House, Hussein, and then we have other letters like VJ, DM, JB, RE, JK, SP, KM, over to HRC, DNC. And you can see some of these letters are Valerie Jarrett, John Brennan, Hillary Clinton, DNC, and it goes on and on and on. And we'll be referring to this when the time is right. Post 3487. Q gives us dni.gov, and this is the IC on the record. It was established as Hussein, Clapper, Lynch gang were on their way out. The executive order was signed on January 3rd, 2017, right before these individuals left. Now, this is a raw signet guideline as approved redacted PDF. Now, these are the procedures for the availability or dissemination of raw signals intelligence information by the NSA. This will become a little bit clearer later on because Q mentions this in other posts. So let's move on. Post 3488 gives us the same post that we just discussed and says, important, and this is in bracket and bold, signature page. Who signed this document? Well, it was James Clapper and Loretta Lynch. They created this, they signed this before they left and Trump came in. And it says D-class for specific reason, public, analyze carefully, relevant to future pending events. So this document was not supposed to be declassed until 2041. Trump declassed it 22 years ahead of schedule for the public. And Q says, analyze this carefully. Post 3489, it says, signed by Clapper and Lynch shortly after POTUS was elected. Post 3490, and Anon says, check the D-class on date, classified by 2476680, derived from NSA CSSM 152, declassify on 2041 123 12041, December 31st, 2041. It was declassified 22 years earlier than it should have been. What does this tell you? It tells you that Trump wanted this out there for a specific reason. Clapper, Lynch, they were trying to hide all of this, and they wanted this to remain classified. Post 3491. Ryan Savendra tweeted out the following. Breaking. Jeffrey Epstein found injured in New York City jail cell after possible suicide attempt or assault. Now, we know from Q that there was a power outage. And Q told us that they might have been trying to hit Epstein, take him out of the picture. If they take him out of the picture, then what happens to the case? It probably just dies off. Q says eyes on. Post 3492 gives us a post back from 3429, and it says, how do you eliminate a liability? Where is Epstein being held? Reconciled. Do you believe in coincidences? Powerful people connected. Panic. So Q gives us a link to NBC News. Jeffrey Epstein found injured with marks on his neck in New York. And they say that they don't know what happened. Either he was trying to commit suicide or there was an attempt on his life. But he was found in a fetal position with these injuries. Q says painfully obvious or willfully ignorant. So I do believe that he wasn't trying to commit suicide. And we'll explain that a little bit later. Post 3493. There's a picture inside of Epstein's building, which we are saying it is a temple, and there are mattresses inside. And below it, it says ABC News told us it was just a gym inside of the temple. Well, where's the gym equipment? I see mattresses. That's kind of strange. Post 3494. Now, Christine Poland tweeted out the following. Look what I found from the PDF Q just posted. Mind-blowing. The words knowingly, gang of 8, CDE. So what she found was the following. In that document that we just discussed that Clapper and Lynch signed. So let me read this from B parentheses U. Pursuant to the direction of an intelligence service or network of a foreign power, knowingly engages in any other clandestine intelligence activities for or on behalf of such foreign power, which activities involve or are about to involve a violation of the criminal statutes of the United States. C. Knowingly engages in sabotage or international terrorism or activities that are in preparation therefore, for or on behalf of a foreign power. D. Knowingly enters the United States under a false or fraudulent identity for or on behalf of a foreign power, or while in the United States knowingly assumes a false or fraudulent identity for or on behalf of a foreign power, or knowingly aids or abets any person in the conduct of activities described in paragraphs A through C, or knowingly conspires with any person to engage in those activities. And this goes back to Adam Schiff, who knowingly did all of these things. This is why Q was saying knowingly. Post, and below this, Q says, expand your thinking. Post 3495 gives us a Twitter link to Maria S. And this says, while Inside Edition told us it was a music room where Epstein played the piano, is Inside Edition not getting the 4 a.m. emails? And highlights that, yes, they're saying it's a music room. This temple is a music room. ABC says it's a gym. We have pictures with mattresses inside. Q says, do you trust the media? No. And it looks like they're not getting the 4 a.m. messages. Post 3496 gives us a U.S. Today link. Jeffrey Epstein appeals no bail decision in child sex trafficking case. So he's trying to get bail. His lawyer is trying to get bail. They're pushing and pushing and pushing, and the judge keeps pushing back. Q says, does a person who fights hard for bail, then appeals the original decision, attempt to overturn, attempt suicide prior to the ruling of the appeal? No, they don't. So Q is letting us know that this was some type of hit. They attempted something and they tried to remove Epstein. It failed. Are they going to try again? most likely, Q says logical thinking Q. From everything that Q is giving us right now, Q is preparing us, preparing everyone for the D class, the Inspector General report, the spying investigation, the Uranium One investigation, the Clinton email investigation, all of it, and for Epstein. This is why Q is redropping everything right now, refreshing our memories from what Q has said in the past. Remember, future proves past. So Q is letting us know they are locked and loaded. They are ready to go. The clock is ticking down. Mueller is completely removed. The blocks are removed. Patriots are ready. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.